Yes, we are all set, Chair Galdo.
Perfect. Wonderful. Well, good morning, everyone. It is Thursday, March 19th, 2026, and we are gathered here for the Sacramento Board of Directors meeting. I want to welcome everyone to this beautiful location and thank you for being here. For those of you that took the tour, I'm sure you enjoyed it as much as I do, and we'll look forward to hearing a lot more about West Sacramento this morning. But if we could, Madam Clerk, would you start with roll call?
Thank you. Good morning. Director Andreotta absent. Baines,
Present.
Boomgarden,
Present.
Rollins for Branscombe,
Here.
Bullahan,
Here.
Chapdelaine,
Here.
Chapman,
Here.
Clark Kretz,
Here.
Clarici,
Here.
Desmond, Dowden Calvillo, Early,
Here.
Howdeshelt,
Here.
Hume, Jennings, absent Jones,
Here.
Kennedy, Kozlowski,
Here.
Lauren,
Here.
Maple, absent McCully, Rodriguez absent Sander, absent Lopez Taft for Schaefer,
Here.
Soon,
Here.
Teeter,
Here.
Veerkamp,
Here.
Vega,
Here.
Villegas,
Here.
Vice Chair Bradford,
Here.
Chair Galdo,
Here.
and ex officio member Tacker for Aceves.
Here.
And it sounds like most of you figured it out, but just in case you have, you need some more instruction for your mics, when you push the button, it will light green, and that means your mic is live. You have to push it again to turn it off. Thank you.
Except for me,
Except for Director Howdeshelt,
and that,
whose light is red.
Always said.
yes,
Give
you're
it-
good. The
Mine's-
red works.
mine's good.
We have a block. Thank you. If you could join me and for the pledge, please.
Either.
And I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So.
Thank you.
Bruce.
Our next up on our agenda is an opportunity for public communications, and it's an opportunity for anyone who wishes to address the board on an item that does not appear on the agenda. Madam Clerk, do we have any speaker cards for public comment?
There's no public communications.
All right, thank you. Next would be our opportunity for directors if they have any conflict. Do we have any directors that would like to share a conflict? All right. All right. Well, seeing none, we're going to move on into the heart of our agenda. We're so excited to be here in West Sacramento and really excited for the tour that we had this morning and to learn so much. I've already learned how large West Sacramento is that I was not aware of. And so I'd like to introduce the mayor of Sacramento and our former SACOG board member, Martha Guerrero, who's going to share a little bit about West Sac with us.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board, directors. It is such an honor to be here and welcome to the beautiful West Sacramento. West Sacramento is thriving. That's thanks to your leadership, thanks to the leadership historically that we have achieved over the many years since the presence of our and future of our region. When you look back over the years when SACOG history blended with West Sacramento, when we were working together, the one thing that is very clear is that this body has helped move the region from planning ideas to delivering real tangible results. And this change occurred in this beautiful community that some of us have toured, and thanks to our city manager and wonderful team, provided an excellent tour of some of the great things that are happening. We are proud to say we are living that progress every day. SACOG has been a vital partner, consistently making investments that reflect a bigger vision, not just roads, not just housing, but a coordinated strategy that brings together transportation, land use, climate, and equity. One of the transportation ideas that it came to fruition was VIA, our on-demand rideshare program. When Chris Ledesma wanted to strike out and figure out a way to reach out to the most underserved area of our community, that was our initial investment in West Sacramento, in the Brighton Broderick area. And I'm proud to say that pilot, that experiment that we thought we needed to reach out to bridge where we see all these, barriers in connecting people, that particular project demonstrated that the people in that area, our most disadvantaged community, the mothers, the children, the elderly, the older adults were able to access grocery store, medical care, getting to school, first and last mile to get to work. These are individuals that have only one car. These people are living much more stronger today. Thanks to SACOG for believing in that opportunity. So year after year, through your funding programs, you supported projects that improve safety, reduce congestion, and expand mobility options. In West Sacramento, as you've seen in touring around, that has meant safer streets, pedestrian pathways over a bridge, our beautiful sign on there that says West Sacramento. So we'll indulge a little bit and add our flavor to it as well. And especially for working families, seniors, and young people, as I just described, but in so many ways. So this has been that powerful movement that SACOG has brought. And so a shift toward integrating housing and transportation is what we've seen in our Grand Gateway project, that project that we see as a result of a $43 million affordable housing and sustainable community funding is going to provide affordable housing, is going to fund various regional transportation connections like our light rail and other forms of mobility to get people connected and to get them out of their cars, but also putting them in a place where they're going to have access to jobs as we're going to create more jobs. So it's about delivering that promise that growth in our region can be both sustainable and inclusive. At the same time, SACOG, all of you, has continued to prioritize that regional connectivity. And West Sacramento sits at the heart of it, where we have our Clarksburg Trail that is going to connect us much farther beyond. So these physical conditions that bring our region together, they connect all of us. They connect all of us in a way that makes sure that we bring all of our communities together and help our residents and our businesses. So with that, I just want to say, we want to think about the people, we want to think about the businesses, we want to think about the young persons and the older persons, because when we invest together as a region, we just don't build infrastructure. We build opportunity for our future. So thank you for all that you do, and thank you for allowing me to share a few words here and welcoming you to West Sacramento.
Thank you. Thank you, board members, for being here in West Sacramento. I'm Aaron Laura. I'm the city manager and port CEO. Those of you that weren't able to join us on the tour, want to especially thank you for coming to West Sacramento to spend some time with us today. I think it's very important and relevant that you're here in one of the most special places in our region, not just sitting with the backdrop of Sutter Health Park, but also in the Legacy Club. This was an upgrade that went along with many of the other upgrades that came about last year with the stadium. But when we talk about regionalism, I think it's easy to forget that this project was actually a result of a regional effort. Supervisor Villegas was actually on he's actually on our planning commission at the time this came about. But Yolo County, who he represents now, actually had a role. Sacramento County had a role. This is a privately owned stadium. Many people don't know that. They assume that we own it, but it's actually owned by the Sacramento River Cats, who were gracious enough to host us today. And the way the financing worked, it was done through a regional approach where the bonds were backed by our city, Sac County, and Yolo County. That was something that would not have been possible without that spirit of cooperation that was present at the time. And it was the only reason the stadium was made possible, because someone had to kind of back the possibility that, hey, if the private revenue isn't enough to finance the stadium, how are we going to backstop it? And so it's because of that we're sitting here today on this great site, Sutter Health Park. As you all know, it's no secret that we have the A's here for the next couple of seasons, but we are looking ahead as well. And I want to give a chance for one of our council members, your board member, Councilmember Early and Supervisor Vegas to speak a little bit about what's next. And I can't say too much yet, but I will say, you know, we are definitely in the game when it comes to looking at the future. We're doing a lot of work at the city side, working on updates to our Bridge District Specific Plan, which if you were on the tour, you heard about earlier. Working with our local partners on building some momentum around what the possibilities might look like for a future of Major League Baseball in our region right here in West Sacramento. So stay tuned on that. There'll be a lot more to come, and many of you will be involved if once that effort gets going. But for now, please enjoy the baseball season that we have coming up, both River Cats games and A's games. And I will turn it over to Councilmember Early and Supervisor Vegas. Thank you.
Thank you so much to our city manager. Thank you to our mayor. And I would say I know that you have seen both the mayor of West Sacramento, so our mayor, Martha Guerrero, as well as the mayor of City of Sacramento talking about Major League Baseball. So I know our city manager said, hey, can't say too much. I'm probably going to say more than what he said. So we have the A's here for the next few years, and we are excited that they are here. The reason why we are excited is not only because we have a major league team here, one of actually the only city in the country that is hosting both a AAA team as well as an MLB team, but also what it means for the future. And what it means for the future is that we will have Major League Baseball here, not from the A's, but from an expansion team. And we are excited about that because that's not just our team, West Sacramento's team. That's not just Sacramento's team. That is all of our team. That is regionally, we all together will be coming to these games. And so here we are, we have this opportunity, but as great as it is to have the A's here, it also could be a liability. Because what we need to make sure we are doing is filling the seats. What we need to make sure we are doing is actually having sponsorships so that we can show that an MLB team can be successful in this region. And I know they can. I know they can because I've seen the Kings. How many Kings fans do we have here? Everyone should be raising their hands. Pat, you too. The Kings is not just Sacramento's team. The Kings is all of our team. And here we have an opportunity to bring an expansion team here to this region to be all of our teams, not the A's, but our own team. But we need all of your help. We need your help in getting people here and getting them excited over the next 2 seasons, because when we put our proposal in, and we will be putting our proposal in, we need to show that we got people here. We need to show that we had sponsorships. And so we're looking to you guys. And so one of the things that we need from you in true SACOG fashion is we need you to bring out, get your constituents and your residents excited about baseball here. Because again, this isn't about the A's, this is about our future team, right? The team that will get the name, the team that will be ours and ours alone. They will start here. So we need you guys for that. We also need you guys for the sponsorships. When I think about the businesses that we have here in West Sacramento and here in Sacramento, right, we've got business, but we have businesses throughout the region. I think about Rockland and I think about Quick Quack, right? Wouldn't that be great to have that out here, right? I think about Pest Pros in Atomis. There are so many businesses when we spread out through the region that could be here helping sponsor, but that starts with us. When I toured 2 years ago and I was looking at all the different suites and the sponsorships, all I thought was, you know, there's more. If only we came together as we do in true SACOG fashion to lift up the entire region. And so I'm excited about that. And so Oscar and I put our heads together and we started to think, well, we've got these suites, and wouldn't it be cool if we had like a City of Rockland day here where we had you guys come out with a business that would be interested in coming. And so we wanted to make that pitch to you guys. Over the next couple of years, we would love for you to go back to your city councils and your county supervisor and say, hey, I want to go see an A's game. Not only want to see an A's game, I want to bring someone who would be interested in sponsoring. I want to feature you guys. I want you to come out, see the views, because this is not just Sacramento's team. It's not just West Sacramento's team. It's all of our team. And I'm not talking about the A's. I'm talking about the future. We've heard the MLB commissioner say there's going to be 2 expansion teams by 2028. 2, one on the West Coast and one on the East Coast. And guess what, guys? We are in the running. We are part of the top 5. We are right there. But the only way we're going to be able to do that is together, again, in true SACOG fashion. I'm going to turn it to my veteran because he's been here way longer than I have, so he can talk some more.
I promise I'll only take 30 seconds and then you get the meeting back to actually conduct the professional business. But I wanted to just, first of all, thank you, Dante, for your leadership and all the work. And I think if you were on the tour and you heard about all the kind of visionary components of the growth of West Sacramento, it didn't just happen by accident. It was by design, by investment, by grit, by long-term vision and stick-to-itiveness that was needed to make this stuff happen. We didn't just magically show up in this beautiful building. There was tremendous work that went into it. Jumping forward, we all know what Sacramento, what the region feels like when the Kings are winning. We can rally around a professional team like none other. Given today's circumstances, the environment that we're in, we need things to pull us together rather than apart. Professional sports teams, the Olympics, a good example, they bring people together in ways that people feel really, really good about themselves. We're a baseball region. There's absolutely no question about it. We're in this weird moment right now where while we're hosting a professional team, the prospects of a real Major League Baseball expansion coming to this region and potentially West Sacramento is very real, You heard Aaron give his sort of spiel around the city. He's in part of the discussions around what can happen. But at the end of the day, as we look around the room and in SACOG, we talk about what we can do as a collective region, often asking yourselves, what can you do? I think I'll just double down on what Dante said. The city has access to a suite. It's really simple. But you guys all have access to your corporate, your business entities within your respective region. There's no cost to you to contact the city, to bring some of your partners within your respective region, your cities, and enjoy a ball game. Enjoy a ball game hosted by the city of West Sacramento in their suite and expose your business partners to what it can be like so that when in the very near future, the opportunity presents itself to actually submit that application to the MLB for an expansion team, that we're sitting in good positions. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. And both as you're running, of course, I have one question. So as a longtime A's fan, there was that part when they first came of a little bit of the guilt, quite honestly, the Oakland impact. And so I think there was that little bit of hesitation. And then the lack of embrace of Sacramento. It's the best way to put it. And so there was that for sponsors, and that is like, hey, I mean, I started making my hats long ago. I'm not gonna lie, I got a couple Sacramento hats. So I think for when you're working with the MLB, I'm sure you are, but that is, I think hopefully they realize the slow start to get the embrace. Those factors came in, absolutely. So but I love your idea of having all of us as our cities and our counties. Heck yeah, let's do it.
I can't wait. So you're going to be the first to raise your hand.
Right, absolutely, I will. I've already got several games lined up, so
Love it.
I'll add to my list. Absolutely.
Thank
you so much. I appreciate it. Well, it's not nearly as exciting and fun, but let's move on for our regular agenda. And we're actually going to adjourn to SACOG and convene as the Capital Valley Regional Service Authority for Freeways and Expressways, our CVR SAFE. So, Madam Clerk, would you please note for the record, are there any changes to the roll call since we started?
Thank you, Chair Gallardo. We will note that our SAFE directors, Rickman and Singh, are absent. Excuse me. We'll note for the record that Director Maple and Sander are also present.
Thank you. We'll move on to public communications for the CVR SAFE meeting. And so again, an opportunity for anyone to speak on an item that does not appear on the agenda. Do we have any public comment for the CVR SAFE?
There's no public comment.
Great, thank you. Then, and again, do we have any conflicts that any directors would need to disclose for the CVR SAFE portion? All right, seeing none, then I will take up the consent calendar. We have 3 items: the minutes from the January 15th, 2026 meeting, the extension of the Capital Valley Regional Service Authority for Freeways and Expressways Operation Assistance, and request for proposals for Capital Valley Regional Service Authority for Freeways and Expressways Motorist Aid Call Answering. Anyone need to pull anything from this consent calendar?
Move to approve by Baines.
Bradford will second.
Count second. I was going to move.
Thank you. Thanks. I know they're so fast.
That is too slow.
Annette, you caught that. All right, perfect. So I thank you. I appreciate, I have a motion. Is there any public comment on the consent calendar?
There's no public comment.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. Thank you. Well, now we get to adjourn as the CVR Safe Board of Directors, and we will reconvene as the Sacramento Area Council of Governments. So we're starting off with the consent calendar. Is there anyone that would like to pull anything from the consent calendar?
Madam Chair, I'd like to pull item 11 from the consent calendar, participation in the Water Form Agreement 2050.
Thank you. Did you want to have a conversation about that, or?
I will leave it to the pleasure of staff whether we have time to have this conversation today or move it to April.
Thank you. Is there any rush on this that has to be done this week or this meeting? All right, if seeing none, then we can move that on to our next meeting agenda. Again, then any other items anyone like to pull off the consent calendar? All right,
Madam Chair, I'll move the balance of the consent calendar for approval.
Second.
thank you very much. I do have a request to speak on item 18. Oops, not on consent. So any public comment on consent?
There's no public comment.
Thank you very much. We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're moving.
Chair Gallardo, I think Director Haudeshelt had asked, in terms of staff recommendation on the item pulled off. You are welcome to have a conversation on that today. There is no rush. We've been talking to Director Haudeshelt and Director Kozlowski as well. So pleasure of the chair. If you'd like to try to have the conversation and move the item today, you're welcome to do so.
Madam Chair, I think we can do this like in 90 seconds.
Let's do it then.
All right. So I
Well-
saw this and having been an alumni of Waterform 1, I thought, well, this is a different lane than SACOG is usually in. So I reached out to James and Casey and we had a conversation. So Casey, can you tell us a little bit why you're asking for SACOG to be are you a participant or a signatory? And if, based on your answer, tell us why.
Yes. Thank you, Director Haudeshelt. Yes, SACOG has been invited. SACOG was first invited to participate in the update to that agreement. It's called the Water Forum Successor Effort because the current agreement expires in 2030. So the new agreement would go to 2050. SACOG was invited with a number of other organizations to participate in the public caucus. There are 4 caucuses of that effort, and then also to become a signatory of it. And so that's what's on the agenda today, to sign the MOU, which is in the attachment there as well. The reason that SACOG participated in it and that staff is recommending that we become a signatory to it as an agency is that this is a network of both water purveyors, environmental interest, business interests, and also public interests in supporting the co-equal goals of this agreement, right? Which is the environmental health of the American River, as well as the supporting economic growth in the region. And so those two co-equal goals we feel aligns very well with SACOG's triple bottom line goals. It also brings us into a network that is focused on adaptation of the American River watershed over that time period. And so we would be part of a network that understands what are the regional project priorities to be able to advance to ensure the continued growth and sustainability of the region. And then finally, we find that we've participated in other networks that have similar environmental and climate focuses. And when we are able to be there coordinated, we can coordinate advocacy. We can also put forth SACOG's priorities to get support. And so we find that to be very helpful. And then lastly, we were invited in as well as an expert agency that does long-range planning, doing long-range economic and demographic forecasting to be able to contribute that to the Water Forum's ongoing work.
And you may have said this, and yeah, I know you said this to me this morning. Some of the other public members include SAFCA.
Yes. Other public members include this SAFCA, so Sacramento Area Flood Control Agency, American River Flood Control, SMUD, all of the cities and counties that are within the American River watershed. So that's in Placer, El Dorado, and Sacramento counties, as well as League of Women Voters, and maybe a couple other non-governmental organizations.
So again, Madam Chair, I wanted to daylight this so somebody didn't see the agenda item and said, wait, I thought SACOG was air quality and transportation. are they getting outside their lane by going into the water form agreement? Having that explanation, I don't think you're outside. I don't think SACOG's outside its lane. And so I would move approval of this item.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion to second. Was there any other public comment on this item 11?
There's no public comment.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And abstained. Motion carries. Thank you. Next up is item 17. It's an action item. It's our 2026 SACOG federal funding cycle, and David Pape, our staff, will do the presentation.
Stay in your lane.
Good morning. Good morning, David Pape, Principal Planner. So I'll be presenting an overview of SACOG's 2026 federal funding cycle. So this will include funding outlook, program structure, and implementation timeline for the Congestion Mitigation Air Quality, or CMAQ, and Surface Transportation Block Grant, or STBG funds. So today we're asking the board to take 3 actions related to the 2026 federal funding cycle. 1 is to adopt the federal funding estimate, 2, approve the program budget, and 3, authorize staff to open the call for projects. So together, these 3 actions will formally initiate the funding cycle. Before I get into the funding overview, I did just want to provide a little bit of context on where we started and where we've come from. So as the region's designated MPO, and consistent with federal requirements and the corrective action, SACOG is responsible for administering CMAQ and STBG funds on a region-wide basis. Through a nearly 2-year process, SACOG staff working with a multi-agency working group and in coordination with the board, many of which you've all participated in this, completed the transition from a 4-county to a 6-county performance-based competitive funding framework that defines how these funds will be administered. So since then, program guidelines have been adopted, funding assumptions for fiscal years 28 through 30 are in place, and the proposed evaluation criteria and program budgets are finalized. So today's action really allows staff to move from framework development into the implementation phase. So for this cycle, we're expected to program approximately $230 million across federal fiscal years 28 through 30. So this breaks down to approximately $102 million in CMAQ funds and $128 million in STBG, with the STBG funds split between 2 programs at 65% and 35% per previous board action in September. And I do want to note that these figures are still estimates and assume federal reauthorization. If any of these numbers were to change, staff would return to the board with updated funding levels. So in terms of how the funding will be used, it's really structured around 3 core programs that balance regional priorities and implement the 2025 blueprint. Approximately $91.9 million of the CMAQ funding will be available through what we're calling the Next Generation Solutions and Clean Air Program. And this focuses on funding projects that reduce emissions and expand clean mobility. Roughly $72 million, or 65% of the STBG funds, will go to the System Performance Program, and that will be funding projects that at a high level improve safety, reliability, and the overall function of the transportation system. And then finally, roughly $38.8 million will be going to the System Preservation Program to fund projects that explicitly maintain and extend the life of key roadways. So in addition to the competitive programs, approximately $9.1 million, or $27.3 million over 3 years, is proposed for board-directed priority programs. So collectively, these investments support region-wide services, targeted programs, and planning, monitoring, and implementation activities that are necessary to administer the federal funding and advance regional policy. So this includes things like the Sacramento Emergency Clean Air for Transportation Program, Sustainable Mobility, our new regional payment management program, and Freeway Service Patrol. And then as it relates to project evaluation, for these competitive programs, SACOG will use a standardized performance-based evaluation framework that will support consistent and transparent funding decisions. So the proposed evaluation criteria is included in your packet today, and this would be applied through a technical evaluation committee composed of subject matter experts from across the region, But ultimately, the final funding decisions will be made by the SACOG board. And at a high level, projects will be evaluated based on deliverability and readiness, financial capacity and cost effectiveness, and alignment with, performance and alignment with local and regional priorities. So in terms of timing, the cycle would begin with the system preservation call for projects. Ultimately, we would be opening the call today. And award recommendations for that program would be in August. The calls for system performance and next gen clean air would open in June and follow a unified schedule with applications due in September and award recommendations in December. The reason for the staggered timing is to allow ample time for folks to prepare for their applications and not overwhelm by doing it all at once. Let's see here. And then, programming activities would begin in February 27 for all three programs. So just to summarize, staff is recommending board approval of the 230 million in CMAQ and SDBG funding estimate and program budget, and authorizing staff to open the 2026 federal funding cycle call for projects. And with action today, staff can officially launch the first ever 6-county federal funding cycle. So that concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much. I know we've had multiple discussions on this item in our different committees. Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, is there any public comment on this item?
There's no public comment.
All right, I'll bring it back and ask for a motion.
I'll move approval.
Thank you. Down to Calvillo and a second.
Diegues.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you. Next up is our action item number 18. It's our mobility zones, early action project approval, and Kathleen Aziz will be our presenter.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. It's a pleasure to be with you all. Always fun to get a staff presentation at an offsite meeting. So the item before you is an action item. Staff and the Transportation Committee are requesting approval to fund 6 early action projects that have been identified through the multi-year mobility zones process. Oh, there we go. Okay. My presentation this morning is going to have 3 sections. I'll provide you a little bit of background on the various presentations staff have brought to the board on mobility zones over the last couple of years. The bulk of the funding that is recommended for approval today is carbon reduction program funding. So I'll talk a bit about where that funding comes from. And then I'll provide an overview of the 6 early action projects that are recommended for approval, both how those were identified and what the 6 projects are. And then we'll talk about next steps on what's going to happen with these 6 projects and with the other 27 projects that were identified through the process but are not recommended for funding today. Many board members will remember the first major action that we took on the Mobility Zones project was to adopt 10 phase 1 mobility zones. You can see them here in pink on the slide. There's also a link in your staff report to an interactive map if you want to zoom in on any of those boundaries. And so these 10 mobility zones represent parts of the region that have both a high level of demographic inequity, high proportions of low-income folks, non-white communities, and also a lot of transportation need. Places that have poor pavement condition, little access to transit, difficulty walking and biking in their communities. Following the selection of the 10 mobility zones, staff and consultant support did a needs assessment of each of the 10 mobility zones to really understand exactly what's going on in each of those places, what are their key transportation challenges, getting us towards, what are some transportation projects that could actually improve quality of life for these communities. So you'll see here that these are some of the themes that we heard across the 10 very different mobility zones in this region, and the full details of those reports are linked in the attachments. We last presented to the board in December of last year, where we talked about where we were on getting to the final stage of this process, which is identifying the 6 early action projects that are before you for action today. And so we started with over 100 projects identified by the community last summer and have been working through a multi-step process of winnowing that down in partnership with city, county, and transit operator staff. And so when we last came to you in December, we were at a list of 33 high priority projects. Those are also linked in your staff report. And so really the focus of my presentation today has been on the progress since December to go from that list of 33 down to the 6, one in each county, that are recommended for your approval today. As I mentioned, the bulk of the funding that's recommended for approval is Carbon Reduction Program, or CRP funding. This is a federal formula type of transportation funding. It's a new type of funding that was created in the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act in 2021. So this is 6 county federal funding that comes in a formula basis for a total of $22.6 million for the whole SACOG region over 5 years. In 2023, the board took action to direct how those CRP funds would be spent. And the board's action was a sort of two-pronged approach with a near-term approach and a long-term approach. The near term was a competitive funding round. I believe attachment C in your staff report lists those projects that were funded in that initial funding round. And then the long-term approach is to put the funds towards mobility zones and trails. And so this action before you today and one of your items coming next month really formalizes that long-term action and implements the board's direction from 2023. This is how those funds have been allocated so far, just to give a reminder of sort of the spread of where CRP funds have been awarded throughout the region. So you can see in the blue column on the left, the award recipients from that initial competitive CRP round in 2024. The pink in the middle is the recommended awards as part of this item. And then the remaining $3.2 million will be programmed through the trails via ATP, and that should come before the board in early 2027. All right, all that background aside, we'll talk a bit about how updates since we were last here in December on how we got down from those 33 high priority projects to the 6 before you. So looking at all 3 of those 33 high priority projects, I want to be clear there's no bad projects on this list, right? We have a limited amount of funding, and the initial board direction in 2023 was to have 1 project in each county. So it's been really a multi-step process to figure out what makes sense to go right now with the money that we have. And so all 33 projects went through both a technical evaluation, you can find the results of that evaluation in attachment E, and through robust community engagement in partnership with our community-based organizations. We have our teammates here from Civic Thread in the room, so I just want to thank them for all their hard work to do such incredible engagement on this project. Just in our 3rd round of engagement in October and November, we reached more than 2,000 people around this region, many of them in person, as you can see, in just 4 weeks of that engagement cycle. So the recommended projects before you really represent sort of a robust community identified projects that serve these very localized communities that were identified. Once we had the results from both of those 2 types of evaluations, we brought them to the project's advisory committees and task force. These are bodies that were appointed early on in mobility zones and meet every quarter and have been directing the progress of the project and developing recommendations that come before you at the board. So ultimately, those bodies recommended the final list of 6 projects that's been before Transportation Committee and board this month. I'll now walk you through each of the 6 projects to give you a sense of what they include and how much funding is recommended for approval. The project in Sacramento County is a Florin bus stop bundle project. This is a bundle of 13 bus stop improvements in South Sacramento on both Bruceville Road and Florin Road. So this adds shelters and benches to existing bus stops in that area. And the recommended approval award is $1.3 million for construction. The recommended project in Yolo County is the Woodland Transfer Point project. This relocates the existing Woodland Transfer Point from the County Fair Mall, which is largely vacant, to downtown Woodland, which is a much better location. It's consistent with Yolo Transportation District's short-range transit plan and really provides a better location for transit riders to be making those connections and getting to downtown Woodland. So the recommended award is $1.07 million, also for construction. The recommended project in Placer County is the Bowman Road Sidewalk Infill Project. Bowman Road is a frontage road along Interstate 80 in North Auburn. And so this closes an important sidewalk gap outside of a school to provide those students safer access from their school grounds into the adjacent neighborhood where many live and also where many families do pick up. So this is also a construction recommended approval of just under $3.6 million. The recommended project in El Dorado County is a series of crossing improvements in Georgetown along Main Street. So this is kind of the core downtown Main Street, if you will, of Georgetown in unincorporated El Dorado County. And so this improves the existing crossings at 3 locations, making it safer both for local residents, but also for the economic development that they have when they have events in Georgetown. It's also a recommended project for construction with an award of $1.75 million. The recommended project in Sutter County is Sanborn Sidewalks and Bus Stops. So this is at the southwest corner of Yuba city limits. And so this adds sidewalks on the eastern side of Sanborn Road, as you can see in the map here from Nan to Bogue. There's also a bus stop at this location. So the project scope includes providing some upgrades to that existing bus stop. You'll notice in the bottom left of the map shown there that this is also where the Sikh temple is. And so in addition to providing access for residents in this neighborhood, it improves transit and walkability access to a key regional destination. The recommended award is $900,000 for construction. And last but never least, the recommended award in Yuba County is for a volunteer driver program study. So what this study would look at is what opportunities there are for Yuba Sutter Transit to be able to work with existing rural communities in the Yuba foothills to provide better transit access. So there are some very informal volunteer driver programs that exist in these communities right now, basically neighbors loaning vans and helping each other get down. If you haven't been to this part of the region, it's like 45 minutes from Marysville. So if you live up there, you know, you're 45 minutes from your major grocery store and hospital and all of that. And so looking at what opportunities there are to be able to formalize that or otherwise improve those folks' access to the major destinations in Marysville and Yuba City. And so because it's just a study, the recommended award is $100,000. I'll also note that this recommended award isn't for CRP. It's for the RAISE funds that we have on the Mobility Zones project. This just helps us use the funds that we have in the best place since this is planning work and stretches our CRP dollars a little farther on the other projects. So those are your 6 projects recommended for approval. On next steps, should the board choose to take action and award the 6 projects today, staff will work with the city, county, and transit operator partners to get those funds programmed and get them underway. There'll be a different timeline for each project, but SACOG will provide that technical assistance as they get through delivery over the next few years. And then really critically, I want to note that the other 27 projects are still on the table. And so we'll be developing implementation toolkits, doing more analysis to understand what those 27 projects need. Some of them are very construction ready and you'll likely see them coming through for competitive funds through other SACOG processes. Others of them are really early in ideation and need more technical assistance to get developed. So we'll be doing analysis to understand what each of those 27 projects need and what SACOG can do to help over the coming years to get more of them under construction and funded. And so that concludes my presentation. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. Questions? All right, seeing none, I do have, I'll open up for public comment. I do have one public comment card. Any others besides this one, Madam Clerk?
There's no other public comment.
All right, then I'll call up Auburn Bernstein.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Autumn Bernstein with the YOLO Transportation District in Woodland, California. And I'm here today to urge your support for all of these phenomenal projects in this round, but in particular for the Downtown Woodland Transfer Point project. This will fill a critical need in Woodland and in Yolo County's transit network as a whole by getting our transit hub out of a nearly abandoned mall on the edge of town, which is the place where we receive the most complaints about safety in our entire system. By relocating this to downtown Woodland, it'll not only make things safer for our bus passengers that have to transfer there, but also for the first time ever have a 1-seat bus ride from downtown Woodland to other key destinations like downtown Sacramento, the airport, UC Davis, et cetera. So I think it's going to really be a benefit for downtown Woodland as well in terms of increasing access to all of the opportunities and businesses in that area. And lastly, I just want to commend SACOG for pursuing this really innovative approach that elevates the viewpoints of community members. It's not often that you get to hear from bus riders. They're not a very politically active group. And so really appreciate SACOG for taking this approach to reach out to them and hear from them along with other vulnerable communities. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll close public comment and I will bring it back for action on this item.
Lauren moves the item.
Federici, second.
You were so fast and you're right next to each other, so it just works. Perfect. Thank you. Motion in a second. All those in favor? Okay. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. I'm excited to see these projects.
I need to look. Yeah, like auctioneer.
Oh, that's a lot of work to come up with that list. Our last action item is to approve our draft budget and overall work program and adopt the salary schedules for fiscal year 26-27. And Loretta Sue is our presenter.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. The draft budget and overall work program for fiscal year 2026-27 is ready for board consideration. This is SACOG required annual planning and budget documents. So this morning, I'm going to briefly go over the overall work program and some of the activities that will be carried out in fiscal year 26-27. Touch on the draft budget for fiscal year 26-27, and then also discuss a little bit about the fund balance considerations. And then I will close out with the request for approval on the salary schedule and also the request for board actions on the draft budget item. So the budget and OWP, or overall work program, I'm just going to use OWP throughout this presentation here, are required by state and federal mandates and must be prepared annually. Together, they document our transportation planning activity in the SACOG regions. The OWP is more than just more detailed than a typical budget. It shows how our planning work implement the Metropolitan Transportation Plan and Sustainable Community Strategies, also known as the Blueprint. The budget and OWP require board approval and then also approval by Caltrans and federal agencies for expenditures starting July 1st, 2026. Consistent with prior year, in February, staff submitted a draft OWP and budgets for Caltrans and federal agencies for review and comment. And this morning, staff is seeking board approval to release the draft budget and OWP for public comment. And then in April, staff will bring back the final budget draft and then for board adoption and also followed by approval by Caltrans and federal agencies. So I just want to highlight some of the work plan activities in fiscal year 2026-27. With the adoption of the 2025 Blueprint, SACOG and its regions partner are moving forward with implementation of the plan through the overall work programs. SACOG has identified 18 work programs within the 5-year work plans, focusing on these priorities. The first priority is build vibrant places and inclusive places. The major priority program in this priority is housing, and some of the activities include support local delivery of the Green Means Go grants, and then also preparations of the regional housing needs process. The second priority is the next generations of mobility solutions. Priority program include transit. This includes completing the SB 125 funding allocation plan and also updating to the FTA allocation process. And then also you just heard from Kathleen on the mobility zone. The focus will basically fund projects through the creation of the meaningful community engagement. The third priority is about modernizing how we pay for transportation. Priority program include the strategic corridor planning, which includes support for CARTA, and then also preparations for the managed lanes for future grants opportunities. And the fourth priority is building and maintaining a safe, equitable, and resilient transportation system. Now, of course, you had just heard from David on the federal funding round cycle. And then also the focus is also implementation of the trail plan within the regions. Then also across all 4 priorities, SACOG also carry out the regional monitoring reports, which include the publications of the AB 350 monitoring reports and also the annual progress report. These are some of the example of work included in the OWP, along with other requirement activities associated with SACOG roles as MPO, Regional Transportation Planning Agency, and also a Council of Governments. Before I go into the draft budget, I just want to point out a few things that is maybe unique, a little bit unique to SACOG budgets. So SACOG managed 2 separate budgets, which first budget is the general fund budget, which including all the operation activity, as I just mentioned earlier, and it also includes the board and advocacy activities. Additionally, SACOG also managed the Capital Valley Regional Service Authority for Freeway and Expressway budget, also known as the CVR SAFE. This budget is being approved by the CVR SAFE Board. SACOG operation budget does include significant pass-through funding, and then also it fluctuates year by year. But because of these fluctuations, sometimes the actual expenditure may be lagged due to those pass-through costs that is being submitted for reimbursement by member jurisdictions, and also sometimes of the consulting costs associated with some of the discretionary grants. And also I want to point out, SACOG often begins the year planning for use of some fund balance, but with the goal of filling that gap during the fiscal year. This has proven successful over the last few years, as I will go into a little bit more detail when I share the fund balance used for this budget year. This is just a quick overview of all the different revenue sources that SACOG receive as a metropolitan planning organizations, RTP, Council of Government, and also discretionary grants. Now, just a quick high-level overview of the draft 2026-27 budget. So this is the total budget makeup for fiscal year 26-27. Total revenue projected is 51.2 million in revenue, and also use of restricted and unassigned fund balance of approximately 1.5 million. This represents a 6% increase over 25-26 budgets. As you can see from the chart here, the state and federal funds makes up majority of the revenue, and this is mainly associated with the Green Means Go grant from the federal level and then also from the state side. And on the expenditure side, the year-over-year increase is largely driven by the higher pass-through costs, as I noted earlier on the Green Means Go program, and other discretionary grant like the mobility zone. The staff and benefits increased slightly. This is due to the cost of living adjustment, but it was partially offset by excluding 2 vacant positions from the current fiscal year. But I want to note that SACOG budget is approved in tandem with the OWP, and then SACOG's management exercise the budgetary control at the fund level, so rather than budgeting at a fixed number of positions. This approach offers management greater flexibility in managing SACOG personnel resources according to the work plan needs, or in this case is to keep position unfilled due to some budgetary consideration. As we all heard, obviously there's still unknown with the federal reauthorization bill, so SACOG decided to put these 2 positions on hold for now, and then we might bring back later if we feel that there would be a need, or obviously the need to carry out the work plan, but then also that the additional funding may be secured either through discretionary grant or other means. And then this also reflects the consulting cost that is slightly lower. This is also due to ending some of the discretionary grant for the fiscal year, and then the near completion of the blueprint EIR work. For more information, comparison information to the current fiscal year, the staff report and the attachment offer further detailed analysis regarding this draft budgets. Attachment A presents a summary of revenue changes by funding source, while the attachment B outlines the revenue and expenditure for summary for the fiscal year. As I noted earlier, the draft budget includes the use of some restricted and unassigned fund requests. So this obviously included some one-time needs. And then also, this approach is consistent with the SACOG policy, and then also to maintain long-term fiscal stability and preserve flexibility for future years. As you can see from this slide here, this showed the total use of approximately 1.5 million in planned use of fund balance across the different categories, which include the use of managed fund and restricted fund of 618,000 for grant match and board approved program such as the EEI and also the match for the mobility zone grant. And then it's also include a proposed use of $250,000 from the pension trust to smooth out CalPERS unfunded liability payment. And then lastly, included $660,000 of unassigned fund balance. This include both carryover of the previously approved fund balance where work spanned multiple fiscal year, and then also the proposed use of $500,000 for the first phase of the household travel survey, which the board approved in March for the release of the RFP. This is just a quick highlight of what the estimated fund balance as of fiscal year ending June 30th, 2026, and also based on the proposed use of the fund balance for fiscal year 2027. Lastly, staff is requesting approval of an updated salary schedule effective July 1st, 2026, which reflect a 3.2% cost of living adjustment increase based on the California Consumer Price Index. This is consistent with the labor agreement SACOG has with its employees associations. The detailed schedule are included in attachment K. So the recommendations for the board, the Policy and Innovation Committee recommended that the board approve release of the draft budget and OWP for fiscal year 2026-27 for public comment, and then also adopt the salary schedule for fiscal year 2026-27. This concludes the overview of my presentation. Happy to answer any questions or any feedback from the board.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I know you've done this presentation at our committee, so we had an opportunity to get into detail. Are there any further questions for Loretta this time? All right. Seeing none, I will open up for public comment. Excuse me, is there any public comment on this item?
There's no public comment.
Bring it back.
Madam Chair, move approval.
Hey, that was like, if we do that together, that was for us. I know. So I'm looking and I'm going to say, who was it? Yeah, please.
I know that we are going to have potentially what we're seeing is some uncertainty at the federal level, and it still appears.
In which area?
Actually feels like in all it. And I'm just curious, you referenced the two positions. Is there any other concerns in regards to the money or the dollars that we have already built in at the federal, from the feds, that those two could potentially be cut back?
Well, obviously, included in the budget is our formula fundings for the from the federal government for the planning work, right? So we basically just assuming that funding will be continue at the current level with a slight increases. So that, obviously, depending on what's going to happen with the reauthorization bill, that may potentially a risk there. Right?
Are there any plan Bs or Cs in regards to if there is a world where that might change?
A plan B in terms of hiring those positions or going the other way. So just got back from DC, my third trip in 3 months, where I'm really glad. Hopefully all of you are going back in April for Cap to Cap. The federal transportation bill expires in September 30th at IIJA. We will not have a bill that's nearly as big and well-funded and robust as going forward. There may be a new transportation bill, certainly that is marked up in committee, possibly passed and signed by the president this year, but highly unlikely. If there is a new bill, we could see anywhere from an increase, not only in funds that come directly to SACOG, but funds that come to all of you. And that funding round item you just approved, we're working really hard. I know Director Jones came back from NACO and talked about the Basics Act. So we have a possibility of putting things in the right direction, or probably we would probably the most likely outcome is we won't get a bill this year. We'll have a continuing resolution. That is the most likely. The reason that, and I just want to put a finer point, because the board's been very engaged in the budget the last few years, it's been great. We basically have a balanced budget we're submitting to you because we're holding off those two hires. But for the 500,000 for the household travel survey, we feel this is a pretty conservative budget. If the bill comes through and gets done this year and it goes in the right direction, we'll come back accordingly with budget amendments to go in the right direction. If not, I feel pretty confident that what you see before you is going to stick.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. I believe in just because you were closest, I heard a motion from Director Soon.
Chair, I have
Yeah.
a quick question before we
Sorry,
go
I'm-
on.
oh, there.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
And Loretta, thank you for the presentation. What are the two positions? I don't know if I missed that, or could you tell me what they are?
One of the position is for the transportation team, and then also the other one is from our data team. Obviously, as I mentioned, the way the budget is structured is all based at the more fund level, so management sort of kind of determine when a position is open to more looking at the overall agency needs. So the replacement of the open position may not, be exactly, replacing the existing or the open position. So, yeah.
All right, one last check. Any other questions? I have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second Dowden Kelvio.
Thank you. Nobody wanted to say second after that. Everybody on the motion. All right. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed and abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. That is the last of our action items. And so we are back up for our workshop on the city of West Sacramento. And so we will going to bring Director Early. I don't know if you wanted to introduce again or any comments, but we will bring Aaron Laurel back to do our workshop presentation.
Again, welcome. You've already heard me be a cheerleader for our region and for West Sac. We like to say West Sac, best Sac. Yeah. We are very, very fortunate to have an amazing city manager in Aaron Laurel. He has been with us, he's been city manager for nearly 8 years. I actually think you've been with us for 21 years. We've gotten to really see him grow up. That is unusual to have that level of longevity. And hopefully he talks a little bit about his history here in addition to West Sacramento, because he has been foundational. Supervisor Villegas actually noted, Aaron will talk about our EIFD and how we were the first city in California to do that. But what he didn't say on the tour was he wrote that. He has not only advocated for it, but he is part of it. He could teach a class on this. And so we're really fortunate to have him here in West Sacramento. And I'm very, very excited to introduce my friend, my city manager, Aaron Laurel.
Thank you, Councilmember Early, very much that was very gracious. Some of it was true. But no, I appreciate that. I will talk about some of the legacy here that I've been fortunate to witness a lot of. We also refer to West Sacramento more recently as the baseball side of the river. You'll see that branded everywhere. We'll talk about a little bit more about baseball in a minute. I know some of you are going to have to leave around 11:30, but I'll just, if it entices you at all, Supervisor Villegas did promise to open the bar if you'll stay till the end. So I'm going to get in.
Move to adjourn.
Soon. Okay. When I talk about West Sacramento, I like, and those of you that are on the tour today got to see a good glimpse of sort of the present and future of our city, especially around the riverfront, and tried to give some historic context of how we got there. But it's very difficult when you're looking at it today to kind of envision what it used to be like unless you were there. And it's also difficult to understand West Sacramento and appreciate just how far we've come and some of the reasons it took us a while to get there without that historic context. And so, do the boring stuff first. We are a full service city here in West Sacramento. We do everything from police and fire to we are also the water purveyor. We are a city of, I say, around 60,000. I think we've been historically undercounted by the census, which can hurt or help you in some ways. We're also a major employment center, on par with some of the major centers out there like Rancho Cordova and downtown Sacramento, just in terms of total employment. I think we hopefully made it clear on the tour that we were sort of formed by different communities that pre-existed the city, but we're still only a city of less than 40 years old. We also get confused sometimes, as the name indicates. We are not in Sacramento County. We are Yolo County. We're proud of that, but we're also proud to be culturally, economically, socially connected to the center of the region and downtown Sacramento. So we very much cross both boundaries. The organization, like I said, we are a full service city. So employment wise, we are a larger organization. I think the most notable thing here, 2 points. One is we have a huge CIP. A lot of your cities do as well. But when you see some of the projects we're working on, it'll make more sense. And because of that, as Dr. Early mentioned, we were one of the early actors when it came to what are we going to do after we lost redevelopment about, it's been almost 15 years now. We were very quick to act in both rebuilding the toolbox through different tools, but especially focusing on what became the EIFD law. I wrote some portions of that law, but there are a lot of people, a lot of great people that were involved in the reconstitution of that about 10 years ago. And so if you're not familiar with what that is, it's a tax increment financing district using property tax growth to help finance infrastructure. There's more and more of these springing up around California. It's kind of the best thing we have. We're still working on improving it, but we were the first to act on it. We also just issued bonds for the first time. So hopefully that helps pave the way for other cities to be able to do that with it not being a strange instrument in the debt market. So we kind of overcame some of those hurdles. I mentioned the growth here. We started as a city of less than 30,000 people. We've doubled since we incorporated. Experiencing some major growth during the same times when you all did. But I think what's notable about us is we still have a lot of ways to go. It's not just in the Southport area, which is a more suburban part of town, but most of the growth, believe it or not, is kind of where we are today. It's in the Bridge District. It's on the riverfront. We have a lot of high density housing that's yet to be built by design. And we plan to top out around 90,000 people. So we'll never be quite as large as some of the bigger cities like Elk Grove, but we'll be definitely a larger city in the region. But when you look at us, and this is a good vantage point, I think, from a modern standard, this is looking west from downtown Sacramento. Across the river is West Sacramento. You'll notice right away, there's a lot of vacant land still in the urban core. It's sort of a underdeveloped setting on that side of the river. And you can't help but ask yourself, well, why is that? Why did West Sacramento take so long to kind of come about and grow to where it's kind of on the same density and trajectory as say right across the river in downtown Sacramento? And there are good historic reasons for that. This is dating back. This is probably, it's from a plane, so it's got to be probably at least in the 1920s, 1930s. But it shows you on the left is Sacramento. On the right is what then was East Yolo. Now West Sacramento, the Broderick neighborhood of the Washington district that we saw earlier. And you can see right there, it's very underdeveloped. West Sacramento was kind of the stop on the way for people that were coming up from the Bay Area during the gold rush. As a result, there were a lot of unsavory things that happened on this side of the river. Bars, brothels, hotels that were just a stop on the way for people that were getting across the river, but no one really settled there other than that in that one little enclave. Part of that was because there weren't many connections back and forth, and that kind of stayed true. The other reason, and this is something that's kind of a reality of our history. If you're familiar with redlining, West Sacramento was actually a redline community back in the late 1930s. That legacy really stuck with us. If you're not familiar with the term, it was something that was really embedded in racism and just sort of institutional racism back in the pre-war days. If you were a redline community, the federal government basically wouldn't back your mortgage, and so as a percentage of total mortgages in communities back then, less than 2% of them in redline communities were federally backed. And as a result of that, you didn't have a lot of investment. So there were other parts of Sacramento that saw the same history. A lot of people don't know that West Sacramento was actually a redline community. This is 1947, kind of same thing. You look across the river and this is on the left, not a lot there. And that just sort of continued until we jump ahead to when the freeways were built. So this is now looking from West Sacramento over across the river. This is roughly in the area where we are today, at the foot of the bridge there. This is the kind of the first highway that was built was West Capitol Avenue. It was the Lincoln Highway. If you have other than people that went on the tour today, you saw it. At one point we had 35 motels. We had RV parks. We had very much auto-oriented uses. That was the East Yolo economy at the time. And it was thriving around the highway back then. This is like in the 1950s. We had the Capitol Inn. That's a real place. They had the Capitol. We had the Capitol Inn. This is actually on the site where City Hall is today. And this was sort of, there were a lot of cool structures like this, neon signs and everything. People would drive on their way to Tahoe or points eastward and stop in West Sacramento. People didn't drive as far back then. And so that was our legacy. That's kind of how our community started. But then the federal highways came around, and these are the big highways, you know, building the Pioneer Bridge, building Interstate 5. West Sacramento was effectively bypassed at that point. This kind of shows it illustrated where if you're going to San Francisco now, you know, West Sacramento is kind of an afterthought. You can go there, but you can also just keep going. And I always like to use this this comparison because people generally get the analogy. How many of you seen the movie Cars?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So when I'm doing this in other places, I'm often presenting at conferences where like the demographic is like there's like people in their 20s. So I always have to say that some of you saw it with your kids, some of you were kids, but everyone generally gets the reference. So this is Radiator Springs on the map, where it used to be part of the old, you know, sort of fictional Route 66. Then Highway 40 was built. And if you remember, the townspeople were so excited because they thought, hey, we're like on this major interstate system. We're going to get all this business. And they prepped and had this big, you know, banner. They were going to welcome all the travelers. And you know what happened? You know the rest of the story. It didn't happen. They were bypassed. The economy went to, you know what, and they had to figure it out. The difference is, and this was West Sacramento's story, West Capitol Avenue became Radiator Springs in a way. The difference is we didn't have Lightning McQueen to come along and save us. And instead, our legacy was this. What happened on West Capitol Avenue back in the late 1980s was what would happen anywhere across the country that experienced the same thing. The motel owners that were there, they no longer had those traveler businesses and resorted to things that, you know, resulted in a lot of challenges for a young city. All the things that the headline is right. The crime rate was crazy here in the late 80s. And I think West Sacramento's reputation really suffered because of that for many years. So that was part of the story. The other part of the story was this. You know, this is where in the bottom right of this picture is where we're sitting today. You wouldn't have known that that was possible back then. This was a kind of a riverfront port. We had rail lines crisscrossing everywhere. We had grain warehouses. We had highways that were built. You couldn't really come up with a worse setup to try to build a cohesive community than what we were dealt back then in the 80s. And so this is the Bridge District today. I'm sorry, Bridge District back then. Today, it's a very different picture, and a lot of that is due to the level of investment the city made once it incorporated into transportation and improvements. So, like I said, you know, one of the reasons the city incorporated was around the idea we have this awesome riverfront that has great potential. We have great plans for it, but we really need to, you know, double and triple down on infrastructure investment and transform this area into a shovel-ready site where private investment can eventually come. And a lot of that was also in terms of building a community and connecting those disparate neighborhoods that were part of the origin story. They were all disconnected by whether it was rail lines or highways. And so a lot of the city's early investments were on very basic things, rail crossings, undercrossings, and then that legacy continues today in reconnecting those communities into what is today a cohesive West Sacramento. So again, this was the Bridge District back then. We heavily invested in infrastructure, and the first big catalyst project that came along was Sutter Health Park. Today, it was Raley Field back then. But even then, if you remember what Raley Field was like back in 2000 when it opened, the area around it was a lot like that former picture. I think there was a hope that, hey, we build this thing, it lands here, and we're going to have all this investment. I think we learned the hard way that that's just part of the recipe. You had to then, like I said, double down on the infrastructure investment around it to create the environment where infill development can really happen. And thanks to a lot of public investment, a lot of help from SACOG grants and other sources, and then our private partners, we were able to really make progress. This is kind of just a aerial shot of the terraforming and all the big you know, movement we had to do in the Bridge District to get the basic roads in so we could actually build the first housing. So this all occurred in probably about 2012 to 2015. This is kind of what you see today, although even in this picture, there are buildings. The one on the right you saw today is almost done. So things are happening very quickly now. But there were many, many years where nothing happened because we had to make that investment to make it possible. So the Bridge District today is slated for up to 5,000 housing units, 12 million square feet of total development, which is on par with the same kind of density that you would see across the river in downtown. Today, it has many amenities that people know well, like the barn, some regional draws. We have an old rice pier that we actually converted into one of the only places you can actually get out on the water in the river and you know, take in the view. And some of these other projects you saw today. This illustration, you can laugh if you want, but this actually represents if you built the bridge district to its total density in terms of what the infrastructure can support. It's not what the market can support yet, but this is what it would look like if you built it out to the full density. I would predict that we'll see something that's sort of in the middle of this photo in reality, and it'll take a while to get there, but we're well on our way with the first about 1,000 units and a lot more development coming up. Yes.
What's in the river there?
Yeah, so if you know Mark Friedman, he was the one that paid for this and designed it. So it's kind of an aspirational project, but I think the idea was, hey, wouldn't it be great? We have the river walk and you can walk along there and take in the river, but wouldn't it be great if we could actually have a floating pier where you could get in the water? Yes.
There's a causeway like that in Austin.
Yes, I've been on it. Right.
Yeah, not quite, yeah.
Yeah, the difference there is that's a sort of a river. They don't have the fluctuations in height that we do, but yeah, we've actually looked at that.
Real river.
It is, but right. It is awesome though.
I'll
Yes.
say as a Sacramento representative, I might get, beaten when I go back home, but I'll say that I often look across the river and I'm in awe and inspired by the work that you guys are doing on the waterfront. And I often go talk to our staff at the city of Sacramento and I say, what are we doing? How come we can't build like this on the waterfront? And there's a lot of reasons for that, including one called Union Pacific. But anyway, but I think it's a great aspiration. I think something that we should be doing on both sides of the river, because when you look at great cities all across the United States and beyond that are, especially ones that are on the convergence of two rivers like we are, they build up on their waterfronts. They build housing, they build restaurants and bars and recreation opportunities. And I think that's definitely in the future for us. And so I'm just really excited about all the work you're doing.
And we are too, likewise in Sacramento. So I appreciate that comment because it does really speak to kind of the promise and why we do a lot of what we do on our side of the river. I joke about this, and we'll talk in a minute about baseball. But DOCO was the best thing that happened to West Sacramento that we didn't have to pay for, right? Just like everything we're doing over here, if we do the type of thing we're talking about here, it will just as much benefit downtown Sacramento. And that is the idea. Even though we're two separate counties, two separate cities, our success is their success. Everything that's happened in the rail yards is great for our city, soccer stadium, Kaiser, you name it. But we're trying to do the same thing for that exact reason. We want to be the regional draw for the whole region to recreate and enjoy. We go back to where people live, and there's a great place in the region to live, but this is the economic and cultural center of the region, and we want to be just as much a part of that as downtown Sacramento. So I'm going to just highlight briefly.
Aaron, can I just jump in real quick?
Okay.
So this has really brought me down memory lane because I'm from Loomis, and my second job interview at 19 was at Clark Pacific, and it was Tech on Pacific back then. And I will never forget getting off the freeway to this huge billboard that said over 1,001 hotel rooms.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is this? But
Yeah.
I was able to work for Clark Pacific 3 times over my career. My husband actually retired from there, but watching this incredible transformation of this city has been amazing since 1984 for me, as I would come down here. And I just want to say it's just amazing. And I love what you've done. I love the housing. It's just been a knockout of the park. So thank you.
No, I appreciate that. And having that memory of the 80s is especially profound when you reflect on what has happened here. I think Supervisor Villegas growing up here can speak totally to that.
So I have to give a shout out to Whitey's and Club Pheasant. Woohoo!
Need shakes. Talk about this. We need shakes.
Yeah, I think we just missed that. I wanted to go back to the motel comment. So those of you that were on the tour today saw some of the work we've been doing. We did start with 35 motels, and maybe at one point that billboard was accurate. They've had to change it a few times. The association actually owns it, but we very deliberately, as part of our redevelopment efforts on West Capitol Avenue, have, and some of you saw that today on the tour, acquired some of those motel properties, temporarily purposed them as interim supportive housing with an eye towards redevelopment. You saw today our first big redevelopment project that's going to be resulting from that effort. But as we go down the boulevard, that process is going to repeat itself. Really serves multiple purposes, both helping the population that is frankly kind of stuck there by circumstance. I talked some of the factors going into that, and helping people that otherwise, aren't getting much help, but also looking to redevelop those sites into new housing and business opportunities as we kind of go east down the boulevard. So SACOG has been integral in terms of helping with those connections and the transportation infrastructure investment that has led to a lot of the success stories that we've had in West Sacramento, particularly around the Bridge District. But I wanted to get into just to highlight a few, and I'm sorry if this is redundant with some of the tour, but the I Street Bridge is one that's very prominent. If you've driven across it, you know the problems with the I Street Bridge. There's long been a plan to replace it. It's very notable on our side of the river because the new bridge, which is very close to starting construction, it actually lands in a different place. It lands on Rail Yards Boulevard on that side of the river. The old bridge is going to be converted into a bicycle pedestrian bridge. This is the rendering of the new, whether you want to call it Rail Yards Bridge, C Street Bridge, or replacement bridge. We're still deciding on that, but it's a multimodal, very much wider, pedestrian friendly, built for future types of transit. And it will be a dramatic difference compared to the current bridge. Like I said, the old bridge will be converted into something like this. If you've been to the High Line in New York, it's not going to be the High Line, but it's going to be as close as we can make it to that. But it will be an important transportation asset for us going forward. You saw this today. This is the overpass. There's a first pedestrian overpass over the US 50 freeway that runs through West Sacramento and bisects the city. The most notable thing here, if you missed it, is the children that go to school on the left side of the bridge. On the right side, there's neighborhoods that were so disconnected that it would cut their walk time by like 20 minutes. So it's a dramatic difference for children that live on that side. And that's not the only thing. I actually live in one of these neighborhoods, and just seeing the number of people out doing active, whether it's transportation or just health-wise, it's been a great addition for us too. And I know many of you have these in your communities, you know what I'm talking about. We have a trail system. A lot of it is a rails to trails conversion. This is the Clarksburg Trail out in Southport. One of the early investments in what was then the SACOG Bike Ped program is now being built out with additional SACOG funding. You saw this today. This is Riverfront Street, in Fifth Street, the extension that we did. This used to be a 2-lane road with a freeway on ramp. And so we separated the bike path into a Class 1 trail. And that really made it much safer, much more inviting for people that were more casual bicyclists, getting to parts of West Sacramento that were very hard to get to, places like Sutter Health Park before. So this was a dramatic difference that was funded in part by SACOG. The light rail project, and this one is one that, I've been in West Sacramento for 21 years. I've been working on this project for 21 years. It's getting there. It's a big deal for us in terms of connecting us to the regional system. Right now, especially when you look at where we're standing today, what might be here in the future, it's a key connection to make. Eventually, light rail will hopefully head to the airport. We want to be part of this system, and so this project is getting there. Like I said, we hope that it will, be under construction soon and just connect us to the 7th Street line in Sacramento. This project is a little out there, but it's a new bridge. It's out by the port of West Sacramento at the Enterprise Crossing. This is the corridor. And the theme here is West Sacramento only has a few north-south connections. It's been one of the things we suffered from a long time, not just from a traffic standpoint, but let's face it, we're in a region that has flood risk, and part of it is resiliency. We want to make sure we have ways in and out in the worst case scenario. But mainly this is for traffic circulation. It will very much in an abstract way help the riverfront because it pushes a lot of traffic away from what otherwise would be coming through this corridor. And in doing that, it allows us to build higher density on this side where it's mostly needed. You learned today about Sacramento Avenue. This was our Green Means Go project. This is being completely reimagined, redesigned from kind of an old highway or underbuilt roadway configuration to something that is much more pedestrian, bicycle friendly, and much more conducive to attracting future development in some of the infill sites that are available there. And I know you're all familiar with Green Means Go, but just to give you a sense of where our green zones are in West Sacramento, it's very much concentrated around the waterfront areas. but also in some of our lower income neighborhoods like Brighton, Broderick along the Sacramento Avenue corridor. I'm going to close with this slide just to kind of restate the point made earlier. And I know I didn't say much about kind of the work we're doing, but I can say a little bit here. The city has been and is very much engaged on early planning work that includes a bridge district specific plan update that looks at kind of modernizing some of our land use assumptions around it. We were heavy on office development in the early days of that plan. And as you know, no one's building office buildings, or at least not much. So we're really shifting the focus more towards housing, retail, entertainment, hotels, and that really tracks well with the longer term plans to say, hey, if the stadium happened to triple in size for Major League Baseball, that would be much more of a conducive to the type of development you typically see around stadiums. You can go to Atlanta, you can go to, I think it's in Arlington, the new Ranger Stadium. They all have that common thread. There's a stadium, but it's really about the development around it, high density infill, transit-oriented development. That's really what the Bridge District is all about already, but we're modernizing the plan to make sure that it tracks with the opportunity that Councilmember Early and Supervisor Villegas talked a little bit about earlier. And so we're just in the beginning stages of it, but there is a really exciting regional opportunity here that all the things that were said earlier are true around the importance of regional partnerships on it. But the city is doing its part in terms of the readiness, making sure that we not only have the plans and the infrastructure in place, but also that we have the financing. The public financing side is probably the most difficult part. You as a local electeds can appreciate that more than anybody. But we are putting together a plan that would not come at the expense of anything like our general fund, that would rely completely on revenues that would be generated by the development of the stadium and the surrounding area. And so that'll be part of whatever comes out of this effort. So I believe that's my last slide. I'll stop there and see if there's any questions. And I think we might have a couple minutes for that. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think too, you'll be around after if we have some.
yes, I will hang out.
He's going to be around now because we've asked you guys to stay
Yeah.
around. I was sitting here thinking, I'm like, part of it is branding and identity. And I'm thinking, West Sacramento, how do you get your own branding? So I was thinking of all these great river names. And then I decided, what was I thinking? It's Bridgertown, right? It'll be a little more spicy
Wow.
if you were Bridgertown.
That might be trademarked, but
Just saying. Any questions that you, as a group would, or comments? I'm sorry, I blocked you. already, sir.
So
Anyway.
not only Whitey, where Peach Six will be in season pretty soon. But I think the original Nugget might be Woodland here.
Dr. Howdeshelt, could you turn your mic on? Thank you.
I was using coach voice. So one of the iconic legacies of West Sacramento closed a year and a half ago.
yeah.
The Pheasant Club.
Rumors are it might reopen. Club Pheasant.
Yep.
Is that true?
Yeah, so when the Pheasant Club announced closure, the first call I got was actually from Dr. Early. And it's funny, sometimes, things are happening in unison and she said, hey, it's actually in her council district and she's very concerned, obviously, for all the reasons you just said. It's kind of the West Sac doesn't have a ton of preserved history, and that restaurant space is definitely one of them. So the city acted very quickly because it would have been a gas station and a couple of fast food restaurants had we not. And we ended up actually purchasing the property from the owners. The council from there then approved plans to bring it back as a redeveloped, but still preserving some of the building facades and definitely the legacy of the Pheasant Club. It'll be I believe there's 7 restaurant spaces that are going to be.
Aaron, can I tag in?
Sure.
Because I think this really represents the theme that we talked about this morning of West Sacramento, and you touched on it, right? Which is your local government investing in the infrastructure or investing in systems that then allow for your whole community to thrive. And I think one of the challenges that we saw with the Pheasant Club was it would have turned into, to your point, we were hearing, either a storage or gas station or fast food restaurant. And we knew that short of us stepping in, the market will do what the market does. And that's really been, whether it is the motels, whether it is infill and allowing in partnership with SACOG and others to invest in the streets and the infrastructure. That is what has allowed us in a very short amount of time to be the community we are, stepping in where we need to and then stepping back.
Yeah, and so long story short, they're in for plan check right now and hopefully get building permits soon. And a couple years from now, hopefully you'll be able to eat it. Might not be called exactly the same, but it'll definitely be restaurants.
Thank you. Director Soon had a comment.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to, Aaron, commend you. I mean, Dante, Director Early and Director Villegas, just for all the work you've done. I think you've given us all the appreciation of not just what you overcame, but the continuity of leadership and, your leadership as well as the council's to get to where you are. I mean, when you say you've been here for 21 years, I mean, what you had to overcome is incredible. How long it takes to rebuild the infrastructure, the entitlements, getting the people here. So it really, there's just a huge appreciation I have for that, because a lot of us are dealing with, at least in Elk Grove, we had stuff that we dealt with from the county, but a lot of it is blank slates. So that's a challenge in and of itself. But I think what you guys have done is just really amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I know several folks had a hard stop, so we'll wrap it up, but I know that you will be here and I appreciate it that you'll stay for some questions. Thank you so much. Moving on quickly to just some reports. Yeah, thank you. I was hoping the Savannah Bananas were going to be out there practicing while we were here too. A couple of things I wanted to share some fun and exciting news. I was able to attend CalCog with some of the SACOG staff last week, and we have received a major award. It's the Eureka Award for Regional Excellence. I was very proud to accept on behalf of our team here and for our Engage, Empower, and Implement program. And it really was an award directed at creative and innovative ideas that could serve as an example for other COGs and throughout the region. So thank you to staff so much and everyone for doing that and making me look good when I got to accept it. And I just do a reminder, April 1st, Form 700, and Lynette is over there happily ready to receive your forms as they come through. And also I have to remind you on these placemats, I do love the placemats. The information for our peer region tour is on there, and that is all that I have. James, do you have anything?
I would just say we've gone from the confluence of two rivers in this region to, at the late June, the confluence of two rivers in Minneapolis, St. Paul, because that is the Minnesota
The
and
dates are
Mississippi.
confusing on the placemat.
Uh-oh.
It looks as though the 25th and 6th have been stricken from the calendar.
The peer region tour is June 24th, leaving Brighton early, staying through Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, coming back Friday evening, June 26th. So whatever it says.
It's Thursday, the 26th.
Listen to me. All right, June 24, 26th, registration is open. I know we have a lot of interest from board members. Some of you, I know you want to get out of here, but you're going to have to listen to this. Want to bring your staff. We have a wait list. So we have actually so much board interest and we can't go above too many right on these tours. So it's great if you're interested in bringing your staff, but there will be a wait list and I'm not sure we'll be able to manage that. We'll do the best we can, but got a great, we have a peer agency there, the Metropolitan Council. They are very excited to host you. And show off all the great things they've been doing and working on really hard. And that first night will just happen to be a Minnesota Twins game downtown. So very transit accessible. That is my report.
Tour just got a lot more popular, didn't it? I love that. Thank you very, very much. With that, I think we've got everything covered. Just a reminder of our next meeting, which I'm sure it'll be about a beautiful 100 degrees by the time we meet again on April 16th, back at our home base at SACOG. And with that, we're adjourned.